Hey guys, Sam from Manfa's Makes. How are you all? Welcome back to all my returners, and hi to any newbies. It's so great to have you here. Please do stick around a while, and if you like what you see, give me a thumbie. They are free. So I think it's going to be a fairly quick video today, but I haven't done a swatches and samples video for quite some time. In fact, let me get my telephone and see when the last one was, because I thought that I just needed to switch things up a bit. And also, it's always fun to see how certain yarns knit and crochet up. Yes, I said knit. I am not a knitter. I don't enjoy knitting, but for the purposes of swatches and samples, I do get the knitting needles out for you. Okay, here we are. There's only 8 in the whole playlist, and I will link the playlist in my description box. 8 months ago. 8 months ago I did a video like this, so I think, yes, it's more than time to do another one. So, as you can see, I always have my yarn wall behind me, and there are just sometimes I look at some yarn on my shelves and think, I wonder what that actually looks like made up. So very occasionally, like now, I will pull it off of my yarn unit, and it was living here and it will go back to living there once this video is done. I will pull it off and I will spend the time doing a knit sample and a crochet sample, a little swatch if you will, just so that I get a better idea of what it looks like made up. And then if a project comes along and I already know what the yarn looks like, I might go, ooh, I know the perfect yarn to use. Like I said, I don't do it very often, but just occasionally I get a little bug in my butt and I do it. So the yarn that I decided to have a look at in a bit more detail today is this one on the table, and I have left the yarn band over where I did the swatches and samples, so bear with me just 1 second. Okay, I am back. I managed to get the yarn band for you. So the yarn we're looking at today is one that a lot of you guys across the pond are going to be familiar with, but I do think it would be of interest for my other peeps that watch from other places. I know I like looking at how yarn works up for others when they do it on their channels. It is the Mandala Watercolours. Let's see, Mandala Watercolours. There we go. This is 3.5 ounces or 100 grams, 164 yards or 150 meters. Machine wash, gentle, lay flat to dry. Do not bleach, do not iron. Dry clean using A. It is 75% acrylic, 15% wool and 10% nylon. Made in China, and it is in the colour Tea Berry. And I have quite a few of these in my stash. They were gifted to me in Happy Mail from my Yarny Fairy godmother. Thank you very much if you are watching. Yeah, so I've always been intrigued. And I've always wanted to know. Oh, and it's a bulky 5-weight, or a chunky as we call it here in the UK. I don't have a lot of chunkies and bulkies and the thicker weight yarns. I tend to do most of my crochet between a 2 and a 4 weight. I love my 2s, 3s and 4s. That's where I'm most comfortable. But I have been looking at this thinking it would make a really lovely sweater if I have enough of it. A cardigan if I have even more of it, or maybe even a blanket at some point, because it is really thick and squishy. Now, I am a little funny when it comes to wool, and you can feel that there's wool in there. This is the Tea Berry colourway. It's like pinkish red and an off-white, and then it kind of speckles and kind of ombres in, if you will. You can feel that there's wool in it, but I wouldn't say it's particularly uncomfortable against my skin, and I do have slightly sensitive skin. It is uber squishy, For me, it looks like a 4-weight, but after working with it, you can definitely tell that it's got some heft to it. It's got some chunk to it. Yeah, so I would say it's a very thin 5-weight. It's slightly roving as well. But once you're working with it, it's almost like it blooms up to be like a 5-weight, in my opinion. You can see that very well on my crochet sample that I will be showing you in just a little minute. Now, it does recommend 6.5mm hooks and needles. I could do 6.5 with the hook because I have this Clover Moor. But the biggest knitting needles I had were 5mm. And I did struggle knitting with those, to be fair. It definitely does need at least the 6.5, if not bigger, depending on how drapey you want the material. In the crochet sample that I did with the 6.5, it is quite a dense, stiff fabric using the 6.5, but then I am a tight crocheter as well, guys, so it will depend on your tension. I would be tempted to go up a hook size or 2 myself when I do use this eventually. So if you're a tight crocheter or knitter, I would definitely use bigger sizes. If you're fairly loose crocheter or knitter, you should be absolutely fine with the recommendations, I think. But like I said, we are all so different and we all craft you know, in slightly different ways. So you would have to kind of play around with it. So I did the knit sample first because knitting takes so long for me. I am so slow at knitting. It's not even funny. That's why I don't do it for pleasure. I do it for content for videos mainly. There may be one day in my life when I've definitely got more time to invest in knitting that I actually do take it up a bit more. I can basically do the knit stitch and the purl stitch, guys. That is as far as my knitting expertise goes, which is nothing. So yeah, I can do the very, very basics, basically. And this is how it turned out in knit. It is absolutely gorgeous. As you can see, the colour distribution is fairly even across the sample. So I did knit one way, purl the other. So it does have a tendency to curl up. I do apologise. But I do love how it's come out. And the outside of the skein was on the darker parts of the pinky red. So that's why it is quite a dark swatch. Because also you use a lot less yarn when you knit. Crochet, you eat yarn up at a rate of knots, but with knitting you use far less. So that's probably why the colour distribution is more even across the sample. I think I did all right with my stitches. They look fairly neat and tidy, but like I said, I'm not a knitting expert. Those of you that are watching that do knit, you'll be able to tell me whether they're good or not. It doesn't really matter. This suits the purposes of the video. So that is the knit side. And then this is the purl side, the one with all the bumps. So equally as beautiful in my opinion. I do love the knit though. I wish I could get on board with knitting a bit more because I do love a knitted jumper, knitted sweater for you over the pond. But yeah. I'm just so painfully slow at it, guys. It would probably take me about 10 years just to make one panel of a sweater, honestly. It took me hours to make this. I'm not even joking. Every time I do a swatches and samples video, most of you will be like, oh, well, that's easy preparation. You'll be done in half an hour. No. This tiny little bit that you're looking at took the best part of 2.5 hours. Yeah. Not my strong suit, but I did it. I got it done. Now, the needles that I use are just a really cheap, inexpensive set that I got from Amazon back in the day. This is what it turned up like. It's in its own little case. You can obviously tell that it's from overseas. And it comes with pockets for all the different sizes in there. It's not the greatest of quality, but again, It does what it says on the tin for the purposes of my swatches and samples videos. So no, I'm not going to invest in better quality needles anytime soon because I don't use them regularly. They literally get a dusting. Well, in this case, a dusting off every 8 months. So yeah, I don't need to invest in better quality needles. It does what I need it to do for this. But yeah, it's that. So there we go. That is what the tea berry looks like in the knit. And then in the crochet, I did try and do a variety of stitches so that you're able to see what stitch definition looks like, and whether the colour pooling would suit you if you were to get yourself some of these. Now, I don't know if you can still get this or this colourway in particular. You'd have to do some research. I didn't do that for you today, I'm afraid. But yeah, this sample I took from the centre of the cake. So I've used one cake for both of these samples. The knit was doing the cake from the outside and the crochet was pulling from the centre. And in this, actually, you can see the colour transition really well. So there we go. That is the crochet sample. It is squishy. It is thick. It is dense. I mean, it's not overly stiff or anything, but I would definitely want to go up a hook size. And see, even in this sample, you can see how my tension has changed from the bottom to the top, but that is okay. It's still the right stitch count. At the bottom here, I did a couple of rows of single crochet. I then did a couple of rows of half double crochet. I then did a couple of rows of double, and then I decided to do a popcorn row with a single crochet row in between, and then another popcorn row, and then another row of singles at the top to neaten it up. This is all US terminology, guys. I prefer US terminology. So as you can see, those popcorns definitely stand out. You can see them. They don't get lost in the fabric at all. There is really nice definition on the stitches underneath, the basic stitches. You can see the colour transition where it's a lot paler down here and then it gets a bit darker and then it gets to the darkest at the top. So you would have that colour fading throughout your project if you were to use several of these. Yeah, it was all right. I have no complaints whatsoever. I mean, popcorns aren't my favourite stitches in the world, but for the purposes of this sample, I thought, why not? It's a 3D stitch. Can you see that it's 3D? And I think, yes, you can. And definitely if I turn it that way. So yeah, I just thought this was a really good example to not only show you how the stitches look made up, how the stitches look in the recommended hook size, but also so you can see that gorgeous colour fade as well. So there we have it. I rather enjoyed making these samples for you. It was nice to revisit a segment from a long time ago, and I hope you guys found it useful. Let me know down in the comment section, have you got any of this in your stash? Have you used it before? Is it something that you want to go out and have a look for the next time you go yarn shopping now that I've shown it? Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, with the wool content, it's not going to be suitable for everyone, especially if you have an allergy. But like I said, for someone with semi-sensitive skin, it's not horribly rough, and I think as soon as it's been washed it will soften up again. That's the back of the swatch, just so that you might be able to see the colour transition a little clearer. In person you can see it a lot better. My ring light is washing it out slightly. I don't quite know how best to showcase that, but it is being washed out slightly, but that's okay. You get the gist, you get the general idea. And now, if you've got it in your stash, you know what it looks like worked up, and now you can make a decision on what you're going to use, or what project you're going to make with it, right? I enjoyed it. So yeah, like I said, when I know what project I want to make with it, this will get used up. So don't worry, that hole there will be filled again right after this has been filmed and uploaded for you. I hope at the midweek point of this week you are doing okay. I hope the weather's being kind. I hope the temperature's being kind. I hope people are being kind. Yeah, I appreciate your time today as always. So let me know, are these videos useful? Do you see anything behind me you want me to do the same with? Just let me know and I will try and facilitate that for you all. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let you get going. I have one more video to film for the week because I am batch recording on the Saturday prior to this. And then I want a gorgeous late afternoon, evening of crochet and relax time because I'm exhausted. Anyway, guys, I will see you very, very soon. But until then, stay safe, be kind, look after one another, get some good quality time in with your loved ones and get some good quality crafting time in. I will see you in the next one tomorrow or around the YouTube streets. Bye, guys. Love you loads.